This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Friday. So we are back with this week's Long Run Show live stream and podcast brought to you by the Fordy Runs running community. And as always, our sponsor, Skechers. So feel free to head to skechers.co.uk and check out all of their latest kicks, snicks, trainers, kit, winter garms, you name it, they've got it. And of course, we've got our Fordy Runs code that you can use at startfitness.co.uk for 10% off. So this evening, I'm joined by the lovely Hayden, Toby, and the man himself, Wilco. And we will be discussing safety tips for running in the dark. So if you are listening to this back, you can listen to this across all podcasts and all streaming platforms, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, you name it, we'll be there for you if you're tackling those evening runs and those later evening runs in the dark, which we're going to
don't get too distracted if you're running in the dark by listening to us talking about running in the dark, because that would be one thing that you really don't want to do. It feels now, obviously Chris isn't here, but he's off in Berlin and Ben's along with him, and I can't help thinking, ladies and gents, that it's a bit like you've been left the keys in the house, your parents have gone away for the weekend, and you've been told not to have a party. It's a bit, we're all, it's a bit of a disco day, isn't it? It's all, he's gone and he's not keeping an eye on us. He's on a plane. He can't even listen. He can't even chip in.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's freedom. It's a free house. It basically feels like a free house.
So yeah, everything goes. So don't forget, ladies and gents, that if you, Toby is in charge with the buttons and everything, and he's put up a link on Facebook. If you can, go to that and register on that, so then we can see your name and we can give you a name check. You give us a lovely comment and stuff like that. You can get comments on YouTube as well. I'll try and keep pace with those today and bring in various subjects and bits and bobs. And Hayden, you've been doing a bit of homework, getting a few questions as well. How are you, mate? You've done Berlin. You've ticked that one off. Are you any FOMO going on?
Oh, massive, absolutely. And to be fair, out of all the marathons I've done, it probably wasn't right up there in my favourite ones, but looking back over everyone being out there and looking back at a few vlogs and things, and do you know what, actually loads and loads of FOMO. I would love to be out there right now. I really would. Although I did watch, I was saying to Mrs. actually, it's funny, I was watching a video that I'd done of myself crossing the start line, and you can just see in my face, you've all done marathons, that feeling when you first go across the start line, you take that deep breath and you think, right, here we go, it's a long way to go. And I saw my face there and I thought, that's coming up again soon. So that brought back a little bit of, not fear, but a bit of anxiety. But no, definitely massive fun.
I always think that with marathon, I remember the sort of like the anticipation when I did my first one. God, it's a long way. And then almost subsequently, when you do another one, it's like, oh God, I know what's going to happen. For me, in about 4 3/4 hours, I'm going to be absolutely hanging and really aching, and I'm going to be on my feet and knackered and not going to be able to do it. You know exactly what you're in for, don't you?
Yeah, I don't. For me, that isn't so much an issue. My issue of all of it is to get him round. If at the end you're in an absolute bad way and you're not feeling too good and you're knackered, you just want to go and have a bath, that's fine. It's done. Job done. Mine's that thought when you first start thinking, I've got to get to the end. Getting to the end for me is sort of like, well, it's the end goal. So once I get over that finish line, then whatever. As long as nothing obviously really disastrous to your health, but it's just getting to that finish line and thinking it's such a long way. But that's what you've got to go through when you do marathon running. And all these guys out there, obviously we've got Ben out there, Chris is out there, we've got Alan's out there supporting Carolyn, we've got loads of the 40 runners out there, Helen, Joanne Costello's out there, Nettie's out there, there's loads of people out there. So yeah, massive FOMO out there.
Oh, right, yeah. So there's plenty going on. We've got we did have a bit of an issue. We were thinking about what we were going to talk about today, and we were going to talk about sort of like heart rate and power stuff and things like that. And but we thought with the change of the season that looking at the dark and strategies for running in the evening would probably be best. So you may see on the Facebook thing that the old title is still up and running, but we've had a bit of a subject change. Anyway, I've said far too much already. I've done 5 minutes.
Can we just touch on that though? Because I can't believe how dark it's got. I know, obviously, for everyone, the clocks go back. Next month? It's the I can't remember what the actual date is. The 29th of October.
Something
I think
like
it
that.
is. They go back. But it's already so dark. Like in the mornings, I've been going out super early in the mornings, getting my bits and pieces done early doors, and then now it's 7 o'clock, and I've got a ring light in front of me because it's too dark in my living room otherwise. It's mad. Winter is literally fast approaching.
No, we do our sort of training runs. We have our satellite club that goes out on a Thursday night, and we start at 7 o'clock and usually finish about 7:45. And we're inside the park. We're actually inside Bushy Park. Last night, 7:45, we was really, really pushing our luck being in the park. It was like the gates were being closed. It was like full start. It was getting dark. There was these dangerous deers everywhere. It weren't the place to be. But yeah, as you say, it's amazing. It's just crept up on us so quickly.
So what's it like when you're in Bushy Park about 3 minutes to dusk and you're the other side of the park and you've got to make a dash for it before Parky comes along with his with his padlock and leaves you in there for the night?
Exactly. Actually, to be fair, they lock the gates for the drive, and you can still have the pedestrian access, although they are closing it at the moment for certain times of the year because the deers are rutting, fighting, mating, I don't know, whatever, one of the three or something. So they want you out there.
So Jatir, when he says to you, would you like to come to Bushy Park on Thursday night?
He's sold it.
He's selling it, isn't he?
So for context, before we were here, we were talking about the satellite that happens at Bushy on a Thursday, and he was like, "Yeah, we need to chat. Let's get involved." I was like, "Yeah, sign me up." Bushy is my regular. I know for a fact that in those moments, to be honest, I tend to run alone. So if I'm with a group, it feels a little bit better. But I have had situations in Bushy Park where I've been running with friends or I've run in with old work friends, and you can't see the deer, you can just hear them. And I mean, they're likely to not hurt you, but it's the sound. I watch too many crime documentaries on TV and I just instantly think the worst. So then when these deers appear out of nowhere in the middle of the pitch black, it's a little bit scary, but I'm up for the challenge. Got my head torch ready to go this year.
I've had a similar thing when I was away. I was in the New Forest, and there's lots of wild horses in the New Forest, and so I'd just go a little bit off, and all of a sudden you hear these hooves, and they all seem to sort of go in sort of groups of 8 to 10, and you're out there in this, on this misty sort of moor type environment, and then you just hear them clattering behind you, and you're just like, God, it's like a stampede. I could do with a cowboy really to sort it all out,
No.
If only I knew somebody.
No.
Talking about the deer, actually, so Mel House, who's presented the show before, her and her husband come to our satellite group, and Carl, her husband, for some reason, he attracts to nutcase deers, and they always just, I don't attack him, but they come up close to him, or they want to chase him, I think he actually has been butted by one before or something, right? Honestly, I don't know what it is, but yeah, but Tilly, you'll love it.
Yeah, exciting times. Well, that's my local. Wilco, how have you been actually, darling? I feel like you've gone through all of us, but we haven't even touched on you. What have you been up to?
Well, we haven't spoken to Toby yet. He's still here if you can't.
I need to know about how Toby's 20 miler was last weekend, because I
bet Toby's 20 miler would be nice this weekend. Nice and quiet, mate.
I don't know. Might not be doing one this weekend.
Oh, we're tapering.
I just think I've done enough of them.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, you want a bit of time for yourself, mate. You want to look for your own training plan and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't really do plans. I think it's been proven that I can start one and then never ever finish one. So we'll just leave. Just go out and run.
Well, you'll always finish a plan because the end of a plan is the race.
That is true. If you've got a race booked in, then there is one there somewhere in the plan. It just depends when that race is.
Yeah, when that race is.
Yeah. In answer to your earlier question, just I'm very well. I've got Vitality 10K this week, which I'm looking forward to. It's in the sort of middle of quite a few. I did the big half and Great North Run, and then I'm doing this, and then I've got Royal Parks and Oxford in consecutive weeks next month as well. So it's a bit like it's the meat and the sandwich, really. It's about half time. But it'll be quite nice. It'll be good. And well, the last time I did a 10K in London, it was very memorable, wasn't it?
I actually It was fantastic. So I didn't run that event, and I was there supporting a friend who was running for a charity, and he hadn't run in ages. And I'm just standing there at the home stretch. There's like, must be close to 200 meters to go. And I just see you. And I thought, no way, that's Wilco. So there's me, bag looped over the shoulders, running as if I was part of the race down the side. And someone literally I was running past goes, God, that's a good friend. I was pelting it down the side to catch you. I've got my phone out like this going, go, Wilco. You were flying.
Yeah.
Absolutely flying.
Well, I was put on the spot because I was going pretty well, and as you turn, I turned into Whitehall, so like the last leg in the middle of London, slap bang in the middle of London, and got to about the centre off. I saw you. We'll go on, I'll run with you. So I start running, and then I've got about 100 meters to go, and then all of a sudden I clocked. Here's me, 17 stone, 50 years old. She's a sprinter.
You were
This is what she does.
You left
she
me
knows
for
this distance all the time, And
you left me for dust.
Oh my God! Hold on a minute. What am I doing? I thought being, heading towards the nearest ambulance. But fortunately, got home and it was great. It was lovely. But, it made the day.
Good. I'm glad. Well, I hope I can do it again this weekend. I won't be on the sidelines, but I'm actually volunteering with the Fordy crew this weekend. So I'll be there handing out T-shirts, and make sure you come and find us. We can get photos and stuff. I'm so
in the medium.
Pardon?
We have the medium T-shirts.
I was going for small.
No, I think the medium can come and see you.
But super excited to do that. First time volunteering with the Fordy crew. Done a few park runs and things, but never done like sort of a big event, So I'm so excited. As soon as I saw Mel,
you could be really lucky as well, because I've got a feeling that you get all the free clobber as well. And I think this Sunday you've got the pink New Balance like London Marathon jackets, which are really nice.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Are you running, Hayden?
Yeah, I'm there Sunday, mate. I'm there Sunday. Not taking it a little bit easier, probably out of some sort of marathon target pace because I've got a couple of marathons coming up. But yeah, most definitely I'll be there Sunday. Looking forward to it.
How are you feeling, H?
Yeah, I'm good. I just, as the marathons approach, you start to get a little bit. I don't know if it's paranoia or you just start getting paranoid. I feel like I just want to wrap myself up in like bubble wrap at the moment to make sure nothing happens or goes wrong in the next sort of 6-7 weeks. So just trying to manage putting in a good session, but not overdoing it and not doing anything silly. So just want to get through. I'll actually be quite glad come second week in November, and I can just start doing whatever I want to do outside of a plan. I'll be looking forward to that day.
Gosh, when that comes, it's going to feel like you've built up for so long, like towards these 2 back-to-back marathons, and you're going to feel a little bit empty, I think, when you're done. Like obviously, so close to that 6-star done.
I've spoke about it many times with my missus and with Chris as well, talking about it's almost like once I get the 6 stars, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I know what the next challenge is. I know what I've got. Toby knows what I'm doing next. But that's going to be, I know what my challenge is in my head. But marathon wise, I don't know what I've got next. I don't know what I want to do next.
There's lots of noises about Sydney perhaps joining the party on the majors. So, that's got to be tough.
What are they hosting this year?
I don't know, but I feel like I ought to go down and get in and do it before the world and his wife wants to do it.
Yeah, but the problem is no one knows yet, as of yet. First of all, they're talking about Abbott's having the World Series not taken away from, they're giving it in so someone else might sponsor it. And second problem is no one knows. So existing 6-star holders, what happens then? Do you have to do just Sydney and you get a 7-star holder? Do you have to start again from the beginning? If you've done Sydney this year and you've already got Sydney, does that count towards a 7? No, there's loads of ifs and buts. And
imagine if you had to start again.
It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen, I can tell you.
Could you imagine the uproar? Oh gosh.
I know, but then you're talking about
uproar when people can't get on the DLR from Greenwich at the end of the big half. What the hell's going to happen then?
I know, but it's just like, so if they don't say you've got to start again, it's almost like everyone has got a 6-star has to go out and do Sydney once and then they upgrade to a 7-star. So I don't know, does it degrade to 7-star? Who knows? But
they've worked so hard. Like some people work their whole lives to get that 6-star. So if that does come into play, it's almost like if people are going to think, it's all about the 7 stars and you sort of belittle the 6. I think that it would be quite controversial. I would hope that they would do the right thing with that.
But it's a brilliant city and it'd be a great race. So just go. Just do it.
It's technically just use it as a holiday, you know?
Yeah, a bit of a jolly.
That's what they're all are.
Use it as a holiday. That's all they are. It's just an extended holiday with a bit of running in the middle.
Yeah, but it's when you get in these holidays, and like Ben, I've seen Ben today. He flew out to Berlin this morning. He's out with Tracy W, and he's having a few beers and all that sort of thing, which is all very well and good. But like our experience in Ibiza teaches me that eventually the penny will drop, and you think, oh blimey, I've got to run a race. I've actually got to go and do something. After you can get a bit carried away with all the whining and dining.
Yeah, it's when they're on the Sunday as well, because then you have you've got the whole weekend just wait. Like it's almost like you're waiting. You can go and explore, but I didn't want to do too much though, because obviously you don't want to wear yourself out. So when they're on a Sunday, it's a real mental battle for me, because it's like you've got to try and wait a little bit, wait the whole weekend, and then go into the fresh week. Normally stay a couple of days after on the Monday, Tuesday tend to be just to explore and try and explore anyway if you can walk. I really wasn't able to do that for Boston. It was awful.
No, definitely not. I've got a feeling as well. Is that Ben in the comments? Is he there listening at his hotel back there being sensible? That's got to be him, isn't it?
I think it is.
Got his name. Ben, reveal yourself if that's you.
Yeah. I can't go because I'm trying to find all the old comments so I can read a few out. So
we've got loads.
We have. It's nice to see you all keeping in with us anyway. So, Hiram Fernando, evening all. Hope you're all keeping well. Going to be doing my first half marathon at Bedford this week. Bit nervous about it.
Ooh,
you have a brilliant time.
That's at Bedford Autodrome. That's a run through event. So that's out on the Autodrome. Little tip for you there actually, Hiram, is if you've obviously got water or gels, because it's a looped course and it's quite open, just go and dot your stuff around that course where you feel like you need it. I've been at that event before and it's great for the support if you can go out and walk around the course. So don't feel like you have to drop your stuff off at the water station. Put it wherever you feel is necessary, because it can get quite windy out on the back there. But the weather looks quite good this weekend here. So fingers crossed for you. Let us know how you get on.
It'll all go well. I'm sure you'll have a great time. People are charging up their chest torches. Yeah, it's that sort of time of year. Lauren Shaw says, I've got the Yorkshire Marathon in 3 weeks. You'll love it. I did my first one at York. It was great. Should have been doing my 20 mile this weekend, but tested positive for COVID and not feeling great. Shall I postpone the 20 to next week if I'm better? Yeah, probably. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. And don't get too fixated on the fact that you need a 3-week taper, which I take it with 3 weeks out from Yorkshire. Yeah, she said that in the question.
Yeah.
Sorry. So 3 weeks out. So a 2-week taper will work absolutely fine. Just obviously, the most important thing is make sure you're okay next week to do a 20 miler. Because if you've got COVID this week, you might feel a little bit better in 3 or 4 or 5 days. But if that's still in your chest, it's not going to go well. The last thing you want, that 20 miler, I think we spoke about it, admin spoke about it a few weeks ago. A lot of the 20 miler is about confidence. So the last thing you want to do is go out, not be able to get that 20 miler in, you're not feeling 100%, and then that really hits your confidence. You start worrying. So my advice would be make sure you're feeling a lot better next week. If you are and you're up for it, absolutely do it next week, and just have that 2-week taper. Just make it a little bit harsher, the taper. Don't follow the 3-week taper. Have a look at plans online, and there are plans for like a harsh sort of 2-week taper. Drop that mileage quite quick, and you'll be absolutely fine.
You just got to see how you feel, and if you don't do it, don't beat yourself up about it too much. That'd be my advice. What do you think, Tete?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think given that even if it was to be a case where you didn't feel comfortable doing it, I know that out of 2 marathons, I've actually been injured going into that last sort of phase, maybe like the last month. And I actually ended up doing my longer run actually just on a bike. I did one on a bike where I just clocked up mileage on the bike, and I honestly thought it was going to be the end of the world. I was like, I haven't done my 20 miler, haven't managed to get it in the legs. I'd only done 16 miles at that point before I got up injured. And just did it on the bike and still managed to come away with a PB and got back and bounced back quite fit. So you've done a lot of work for it. Your training's gone well. It's not the be all or end all. Like sometimes I know a lot of people in the comments probably haven't managed to get around to that distance because of certain things like COVID or injury or just generally not being able to fit it into their schedule. It isn't the end of the world. But yeah, I think 2 weeks, absolutely fine. You know what to do when it comes to the taper period. Rest up and just be safe. Like Hayden said, wrap yourself in bubble wrap.
I would honestly as well. I'd look at it positively and think you've got COVID now, 3 weeks out. It's a lot better than getting it 5 days out.
Yeah,
definitely. Think positively about it.
And you've got 13, you might have 13, 15, 16 weeks of training under your belt already.
Yeah.
So I'm no medical expert, but I would, from a mental perspective, I wouldn't want to get carried away by thinking, oh God, I haven't done a 20 miler. It's no good. It's not going to be, try not to beat yourself up about it. There's enough things to worry about. Just look after yourself, look after your health, and see how you get on.
Definitely. Actually, I forgot, top of the show, just by pure coincidence, one of my friend of a friend got in touch and asked to give a big shout out, big fan of the show, Craig Kenny from Bolton Harriers, who really likes the show. So big shout out to Craig and thank you for listening.
Cheers, Craig. Thanks for your support.
Love it.
Should we get on to the main subject for the evening? And then we've got some questions that we can touch upon at the end. What do you reckon? Should we ask Toby what we should do? He's supposed to be in charge. Chris has left him the keys.
Since when was I ever in charge of anything? That's like the worst decision ever.
What, leaving you in charge?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's just time for you to embrace some responsibility. Prove your worth, mate.
I think actually John Old, apologies if I haven't got that right, is commenting. I think he's referring to Toby, saying Fordy is looking much better today. I think he's referring to Toby about that. So
I can't deny that. I mean, but is the bar that high? That's all I'm saying. I've fixed it. It's all done now. It's fixed.
Right.
Change your name, Depot.
Someone do it.
It's not worth the hassle, trust me.
Yeah, no, well, I think we should dig straight in because, it's definitely going to be a hot topic and it's going to be going on for quite some time, given that it is already pitch black outside. So safety tips when running in the dark. You can unpack this in so many different places, but if you're somebody that's going out for maybe your first winter now, and this is completely new to you, and you haven't run out in the dark before, or you don't know how to approach it, you don't know what to do or where to go, or you just need a little bit of help, we're here to help. So I am going to kick off. And I think that I want to tick off one that I tend to follow since starting running. So my issue has always been, I do get a little bit nervous out on the roads when it's dark. I tend to obviously stick to well-lit roads, which I think is probably key for everyone. I think it's whether you're walking to the shops or walking wherever you're going in the dark, you tend to try and keep to well-lit places. It just makes sense. But especially when you're running, it's not just for the safety aspect and obviously being safe and in the area that you're in, but it's also for the injury factor as well. If you're running out in pitch black roads, pitch black streets, parks, paths, for example, Bushy Park, pitch black, there's the options to roll over on ankles. There's potential to sort of drop down on pavements and curbs and things like that. So I always stick to my routes, which are well lit. And if you're not too used to that, you can always check them out on maps. And if you've got sort of premiums and things like that, I tend to just use Google. Before I go out, I pick routes that I know, which are well lit, that's very simple to follow, even if it's just an out and back. I'm very firm with an out and back, especially in the winter. Run into a location, stopping and coming straight back. There's no need to be going out sort of in the pitch black and going around doing all these different fancy routes. Save that for the weekends when you can actually get out in the day and you can enjoy it. But yeah, I tend to, my routes in the winter are the exact same. I'm either going down to the river on the high street and back, or maybe heading down and up the high street and around local streets. They're not fancy, but if you can get the miles in and keep the miles in your legs, then so be it. What's your thoughts on the route side of things?
Yeah, I would agree. When I've had a change. I moved house about 18 months ago, so I've had a bit of a change of, I've been previously I had very well-established routes that I used to run all the time, and it was a lot more friendly towards evening running, because I've now moved to an area where there's the options a little bit more limited, because most of my running is done. I live near a river, and most of my running is done sort of like down the towpath and things like that, and that's just not possible. So yeah, I'd agree with you really that you have to look at sort of like your established routes and there's nothing wrong with sort of like, you keep it. It's good to keep your eyes open, when you're out on your normal runs, or even if you're out, if you're out on your bike or on the bus or anything like that, and you could think, oh, I could come down here in the evening. That would be okay. That's got a bit of light. So you can do your own homework, and like various other things. If you're involved in your local satellite group, or there's a local running group or something like that, you can always tap them. I mean, there's a different running group. Others do exist apparently. That I follow on Instagram in my local area, purely because they put their routes on there. This is where we're running, so I nick the routes of them. So sometimes I'll go on a different day and do the route that they're doing. And so if you see what other people are up to and where they're going, that can be a really good guide as well. So I'd encourage that.
Yeah, I agree. I think also, Hayden, obviously, given that you're still in sort of a big program, like you're still like marathon training and things, and you're still tackling the roads and doing longer distances. What are your thoughts at the moment, given the sort of the change in the conditions?
Yeah, I think you touched on something at the beginning when we first started this conversation about running at nights, and there's so many different factors, and it depends on so many different things. I am a little bit bad because I get told off by my wife all the time. I don't really have any fear. It's not that I'm being dangerous or not being sensible, but I don't have no
just
fear.
Just a bad boy. Wow.
No, I just don't think about, like, I forget. It was recently, and I run through this underpass. I buy the picture and I put it on Instagram, whatever. And she comes straight out to me and said, "I can't believe you went under that underpass." I was like, "Why?" She went, "Well, it's dark outside. You're going under underpass. You don't know what you're going to come up out to." And I don't even think about things like that. And I'm thinking maybe I'm lucky that that's just the way I think. And maybe because I'm a guy as well. So I think for ladies with safety as well, there's big issues, not just with the fact of traffic and going down potholes, deers, whatever. You have got to be realistic and think that we don't live in the most idyllic world. And, it's a dangerous place out there. It's quite funny, actually. Follow this group on, I think it's on Instagram, called Girls That Run. It's a big group all over the world. And they start talking about topics like this. The American girls talk, and they literally get into conversation talking about who carries what gun. Honestly, it's absolutely unbelievable. They're like, "Well, what gun are you taking out tonight? What gun are you?" And you're like, in certain states in America, it's just like absolutely nuts.
Just the way of life.
It's just the way of life. It's the way it goes. So I think myself, maybe being a bloke, I'm a little bit lucky about that. So I don't have as much fear about it. My problem is as well, as I'm in a heavy training block, my evening runs usually consist of 12, maybe 14K. So out and backs and like locally, because I live in town, it's not that straightforward and that easy to do. So finding routes is always a pain anyway. One of the other things I would say is advice-wise as well, which is a really good thing, is always tell someone where you're going. That's really, really important. Whether it's a family, friend, a partner, whoever it is, tell someone where you're going. And also what a lot of people don't realise is on Strava, they actually have got something called a beacon. And people don't realise that it's not a premium feature. It is free for everyone. So if you go out on Strava, let's just say, Jatila, you say to me, "Oh, Hayden, I'm going to go out for a 10K run tonight and I'm going up round Bushy Park and back home." You can put your beacon on Strava, send me your email address, and I can follow your whole route all the way around. And that is completely free of charge. And that's on Strava. And we all use Strava. So it's a really, really good safety feature to have. So I like it. If my wife goes out, I said to her, she goes out, we'll put the beacon on. So I know any one time I can look at her, see where she is. Or if suddenly it's stopped for a long time, I can phone and say, "What's happened?" Or
so this just comes to you, does it? So you just sort of like
you can choose 3 people. So if you go onto your settings on Strava,
wow.
The only thing with it is you can't do if you're a premium member, as you start it on your watch, your Apple Watch, your Garmin, it can kick in automatically. That's if you're a premium member and you pay for Strava, which a lot of people don't. So if you want the free version, literally all you have to do is when you start, is just start your Strava manually on your phone, and then put your phone away, and then that you choose 3 people that you want to send your tracking location to by email, and they can go on at any point on your Strava and they can see exactly where you are, which for me is really, really invaluable, especially being free of charge as well. I know some people would track people on WhatsApp, maybe Snapchat, all these sorts of tracking apps. the Strava one's really good because it understands routes and technology, what we're actually trying to do. If you're in bushy, for example, you want to cut right across the grass, whereas a tracking app might show you somewhere in bushy. Strava will show exactly where you're tracking across the grass. So it's a really good feature, and it's free. So if you're doing it at night time with your partner, go on to Strava and check it out. Just make sure you start your run manually and turn it on. It's a really good
I
feature.
had no idea about that at all. That is a really, really, really good point. And obviously,
You used to have to pay for it, but now I think it was last year they brought it in for all members at just free of charge.
that's really good and a real good reason to obviously make something free. I know a lot of people don't, but have Strava or Follow or something like that. But especially in these conditions, and especially now that it's winter and it's dark a lot longer, it's a great investment to just download it for that exact reason. That's a great route, because I know that I tend to have on Find My Friends, just the normal iPhone one. But like you said, H, that doesn't sometimes, due to the way that it tracks, it doesn't necessarily follow your exact movements. It just kind of gives you an overview of sort of the area that you're in. Whereas I think obviously with Strava, you're running, the sort of the tracking of the GPS is key. So that's really, really handy.
Yeah, I was just saying, Rob just said as well, like the new Apple iOS does that too. So these sort of things, they are available. You just Google them, they are free, they're good. The good thing about Strava is if I'm following someone like my wife while she's out and she starts going too fast, I can phone her and say, look, slow down, you're going too fast. I can moan at her, if she's going too slow, I can phone her and say, pick this one up, yeah? So it works all round, it's brilliant.
Like virtual coaching.
Yeah, it's a virtual coach.
Yeah.
Garmin has something built in as well.
I was going to say, with that in mind, don't let Chris know about this because it could turn really bad.
You should be able to do this on a Tuesday night then, Toby. You know, no more need for the whistle and the dry robe on those. You know, you can sit at home in the comfort of your own while we're running around Harton Common, and you can say, "Oh yeah, slow down, you're going too fast."
I mean, it worked for me, but Sabrina will want to be there, the whistle and dry robe. She want to be there in person, making sure. Yeah. You won't leave those aside. Don't worry.
Oh, I must say, happy birthday to Sabrina for yesterday, for Thursday. Does a lot of brilliant work for
weekend, bless her.
Yeah.
She's at Vitality on Sunday. If her number comes through. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that haven't got numbers on Sunday. Anyway, that's side.
Have you got yours?
I did.
You coming?
Yeah. So I'm not in Berlin.
That's it. We've broken his cover.
There we go.
It had to be Berlin or Chicago. So if it's not Berlin, I've got no idea what else.
Can't comment on anything.
So is there anything else we want to sort of like mention from a sort of security angle? The only thing I would say is that, which is something that I do all the time. I mean, I always go out with my park band wristband on with my number on it. You know, my emergency number, just in case.
Yeah, that's also a really, really good point. I think, and also I think just from a safety sort of point of view, like I know H mentioned just sort of the actual safety and just the general way of the world these days. It's also just limiting like your music use. So I know a lot of people tend to like to head out on the roads or listen to us talk about absolute garbage half the time on the podcast, but limit your music or limit what you're listening to, lower the volume, or if you can, potentially just try and go out with nothing. And I can't really talk too much because I do love my headphones. I love going out with my earphones, but I will limit the volume, stick to my streets. It's not just obviously for thinking of the sort of those worst case scenarios, but it's also just for your surroundings. Like you could have sort of cars beeping or emergency vehicles coming for a reason that you're not necessarily going to see if you're maybe in the dark, or other pedestrians or little children, push chairs and things like that. So try and limit your music or no music, especially when you're sort of heading out, is something that I tend to take on board, especially when the late nights tend to come. And obviously I did see a comment actually in the chats earlier about someone asking Ian, he said, what are people's preferences for lights? Head torches or chest torches? Also, has anyone ever used or know of any handheld lighting? This one I actually looked into last year when I started doing a little bit more stuff in the winter, preparing for sort of marathons and things like that. But my preference was a head torch. I went through a few because it was sort of a trial and error sort of thing. My first one was too chunky, so it kept coming down. It was just too heavy. And then the next one I got, it moved sort of up and down. So my main focus is I want to be able to see the floor but also see in front of you. Whereas when you're wearing a chest torch, it tends to only just obviously be pointing forward as opposed to aiming towards the ground. So I always like the head torches, but that's just my personal preference.
I think, a head torch is great for you to see where you're going. A chest torch is great for other people to see you. I've got, it's not one that you'd wear now, but I've got one of the beanie hats with a light in it. They're quite good,
cool.
a bit later on. They're good. But yeah, I prefer chest torch really, because I'm more, my central consideration is the fact that traffic and things like that can see where I'm going. And obviously you have the red triangle on the back, which is just as important as the light on the front. Although I do find myself sort of like hiding it sometimes when I'm approaching people who are walking their dogs, and I'm sort of like blinding them with this portable lighthouse that I've got on my chest.
I do that with the head one. I like turn my head away from people. I look crazy.
What about you, Flo?
I'm a chest torch person. I do, but then so the one I got, you can rotate it slightly.
Oh, cool.
So you can point it down a bit more than, or if you run into someone you don't like or someone coming towards you, it's annoying. Point it up. That works quite well.
I always run with people I like. I don't know where you get this from.
No, it wasn't you. I was referring to Wilco, but you could have a guess. We won't go into it though, will we? Don't want to go too far. But yeah, I haven't really tried head torches, but I was looking the other day, so I might.
Get a beanie. The hat's great. In the winter I wear it quite a lot.
That is a good idea. I feel like I might just get a bit too hot though. Like the head, I feel like my head might get a little bit hot. Got so much hair going on.
I wish I could say the same.
To have those problems.
Exactly. Rub it in, why don't you? I think I'm personally, I'm a chest torch person definitely as well. But it's quite strange actually. We've done the Heart 24 in last June, and obviously you do some laps throughout the night, and this is absolutely pitch black, and you go through a common where there's just no lights at all, so you're reliant purely just on your own light. And there's a mixture of people. I had my chest light on. Did it give me enough light? Probably not. Whereas my missus had a head one on, but it was like an extreme head one. She looked like something out of the Minions or something, like this big thing coming out the front. But again, it was like you pointed on it, you pulled it up, Wilco. It's like a lighthouse. Every time you turn around, this light beam or a strobe, like people might thought there was a rave going on, or there was a nightclub around the corner. It was so bright, but it done the job. So you could see so far in front, whereas the chest torch didn't really give you that. The chest torch is almost like, it's a good backup if you've got a little bit of street lighting in between. I think it works well. Whereas the head torch, if you're going in these real dark, or you're starting to talk about trails and stuff in the dark, which is absolutely mental, then
we're both. I've gone out and gone. I've worn both. But I do find the actual head torch, around my sort of like the brim and around my forehead a bit uncomfortable, which is where the beanie came in. It was really good.
Yeah, I
think it's only about a tenner on.
Yeah, they're so cheap. That's the thing. Like Ian, if you're not too sure on the preference, get online and look at some really cheap ones, just as like a tester.
You can
just buy a head torch, buy a chest strap torch, and just trial them out and see how you feel, because everyone's going to be different with those sort of things, and just want to know what's comfortable for you. You're going to be using it for the foreseeable until March, so you want to get one that's going to be sort of suitable for you. But yeah, have a little look. There's so many out there that you can sort of just find, and on the cheap, even if it's just to get it for feel, it doesn't necessarily have to be great, and then invest in something that's going to last you the whole winter.
Right, now we're going to talk about reflective clothing in a minute. I'm just going to disappear and I'll be back.
Oh, is he going to go put some on? He's going to get his high-vis vest.
And he's going to turn the light off as well, and he's just going to be down.
His little bum bag's going to be lit up and everything. You watch, he's going to come back. Absolute legend, Wilco is. Actually, funny enough, we all talked about different things about running safety, and we didn't really, I suppose it's almost like a given. We assume that the bright reflective clothing is something that we absolutely should be using. You've got to be absolutely out of your mind to be going out running in like a black top, black shorts, a black hat, or during the nights. You've got to have some form of reflective clothing. I know you've got these companies, they're expensive, it costs a fortune, like Provis, to do them jackets that reflect. They're absolutely fantastic. There's so many things out there. Even just you can buy like armbands you just like slip on. They're almost like really reflective. And then cars sort of shine their lights on you. They really, You know, they're just really good. As I said, they're cheaper options, and again, they are effective, but they don't really show you where you're going. But from a safety perspective, other people looking onto you, reflective clothing is an absolute must. Yeah,
I've got to say that I think about 40% of the runners that I see in the dark have got nothing.
that's
They're
ridiculous.
dark, like, you know, they're just waiting to get run over. You know, not just no lights, no reflective gear, anything like that. I mean, you've touched on the Pro Viz, which I've just
There we go.
Little gilet.
See, the gilet's nice, especially for this time of year. You know, when you warm up and you're running, and it's like a nice layer. You're not too hot in a jacket.
And and you light up like a Christmas tree in my legs, but they're not cheap. This was about 50 quid. However, this one was free, and I got it as part of my finishers pack at the Dublin Marathon. What a great thing to put in a finishers bag for a marathon. Hats off to the Dublin Marathon.
What does it say on it? They actually gave them away. That's unreal.
Yeah,
no, I think that's the local building site run by the Guinness factory.
It is very similar to what you would wear, sort of like work safety equipment. But I'll tell you what, it does the job, and they gave them away for nothing. Brilliant.
That's actually pretty decent. I tell you what, also last year, with the whole reflective gear thing, I looked at my wardrobe and I had like little bits and pieces that had like a logo that had a reflective bit or a little strip. And I thought that is absolutely ridiculous. So by the time the clocks moved back, it was around, that end of October time. And I thought, wow, everything's so expensive. You start seeing all the ads and everything's shooting up. But what I did do is I waited, because obviously you've got that the Black Friday that takes place in November, doesn't it? And every single site from around the middle of October towards the end of October, they really start pumping on that marketing for Black Friday as well. So even if you want to get like a nice Pro Viz jacket or something that's going to be super reflective, but it's a little bit more money, just find some real cheap stuff, or even some free stuff if you've got it sort of buried away. Look online for some, maybe a little cheap Amazon, just a little few straps or something to tie you over until that Black Friday. I can't wait for it. I can't remember the actual dates, but I think it's the earlier half of November. Everything is literally slashed in half on prices.
Yeah, it's the day after Thanksgiving, isn't it? So it's I think that's the third Thursday in November. So
Black Friday's the
day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, perfect. And it's all the obviously your top brands, the good stuff. You can get prices slashed in half. So you're looking 40% off, 50% off.
If you're gonna save 50 quid on a pair of trainers and buy one of them for 50 quid, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It lasts. The Pro Viz one, I'm in my sort of like third year of running in that, and I've got Fordy does one. I've got a reflective coat off the website as well, which was about 40 quid. And that's like a full coat, brilliant for the like really cold winter mornings and dark evenings. When it starts getting cold, that's a really good thing. Really warm, that's
also good.
Great way of spending the money.
Yeah, I also saw something the other day. Someone had purchased, I don't know if you've heard about this, but someone had purchased trainers and the soles were reflective.
Wow.
Have you heard about that? No?
Like the sound of it.
Yeah, like the soles were reflective. So obviously when they're running, like they're kicking back, the heel, like the soles are reflective. And I thought
kids' shoes used to be like that, didn't they?
Yeah.
The ones that, like they used to have a thing. And then, my daughter had one, the ones that had the wheel in it, the Healy things,
Yeah, and they light up and they flash. It's like you're on a
that.
rave on the roads.
Yeah. I mean, this is how this stuff gets developed, isn't it? Like it's the same, like fashion accessories, and then they become, great bits of kit and for safety and stuff like that. Yeah.
I saw a comment from Mark Langhorn as well, going back to like running the safety, and it's quite a straightforward one that makes a lot of sense. And that's he's generally running early mornings, but he still has chest torture stuff because it's darker. But some people, you might feel a little bit safer in the mornings as opposed to running at night. So maybe it's a thing to change around your plan and cut out that hour-long run at night and try and get up an hour earlier in the morning and get it done in the morning.
I've just started doing that because I start work at 10 o'clock. I'm more of an evening sort of person. In the summer, I enjoy sort of finishing work. That's it. 10 minutes later, trainers on, I'm out. But now the opportunity to do that is not so much for delight, and I'm now making a determined effort to try and get up in the morning. And I went out sort of like 2 hours before I started work today and did 5 miles, and it was great. And I really felt the benefit of it. And I'm going to try and do that at least a couple of times a week.
I agree. Like, it's also nicer. Like when you're running in the morning, I've also done the exact same thing over the last three weeks or so. I've been getting up super early, sort of like 5 o'clock, just naturally because I've been going to bed so early. But like, it's mad. I know, it's crazy. And I've just been going out super early, even going to the gym, like walking down to the gym. Is actually quite nice because you know that you're going to be coming out and it's going to be light. But all of my stuff has been done super early in the morning. And then on Wednesday, I went down to, I had a really busy morning. It was like I was in the office, so it almost like cuts up my morning because I have to focus on getting on the train on time. But then I decided that I'm going to just go to the track after, because I work near Battersea Park, like a mile away from Battersea Park. So I thought, I haven't been to a track. Bearing in mind, I obviously used to sprint a little while ago now, and I hadn't been in around. I looked at my Strava, and I hadn't been to a track in around a year and a half, 2 years. So I was like, stuff it, I'm going to go to the track.
I saw the pictures on Insta. You're like, this is
went
new.
down to the track, did my session. It was busy. It was well lit, and then the only walk I had to do was out of Battersea Park to Queenstown Road. Obviously, you pay for the track and things like that, but you don't feel any stress at all. Like, you're there, you're around with other people, can leave all your stuff there. It's well lit, it's well managed. You've got other people around there that are doing the exact same thing. And I had the best time. And I'll probably do the same as well for like the foreseeable for certain sessions.
I think it's a great point, though, isn't it? I think when there's a great time to sort of mix up your training a bit. So whereas you'll go out and you say you do your 10K, you do your 5K, you do that. And it's sort of, obviously it depends what you're training for, but effectively a lot of the marathon seasons are over. So you're not necessarily in a plan. But so stuff like putting in intervals and things is actually, if you've got a nice 200 meter sort of section that you can have, which doesn't even have to be a road, but somewhere lit, and you can put some interval sessions in there. And it's something different and mix it up, but you can stay a lot closer to home. And you say it's trying to find somewhere that's 200 meters well lit is a lot easier than trying to find a 5K, 10K route. So, and you're going to benefit from that as well.
Yeah,
you just have to use your imagination, don't you?
Yeah, use your imagination. You have to adjust your training plans, and you have to think about these things. It is a pain, but it is one of them things. You have to also, I think it's quite important to, when you're out running as well, is trust your instincts. So if you're out and you don't feel safe, you don't feel right in your situation, turn around and go back. Start a different course, go somewhere else. Instincts, especially when you're going to be heightened to alerts from everything, but you have to really, really trust your instincts. And if something doesn't feel right or you don't feel comfortable, stop doing it. Don't do it. That's the worst thing you can do, because you just tense yourself up. You're going to change your running form. You're going to change everything. It's not going to be a productive session. You're better off just not doing it. So you make yourself feel safe, happy, and if that means just running at the weekend and a few mornings, so be it. You're going to benefit more from that than going out and pushing out a couple extra 10Ks during the evening where you don't feel safe or happy, and you end up losing your love for running as well. So
yeah,
it's all about that.
Yeah, you don't want a bad experience, and you don't want to be put off the thing. Run SJ Run, Lamppost Fartlek. Yeah, we're in the.
I've done that.
That's a great run. If you've got somewhere, if you've got a particular route that you can just well lit, and then you can go from.
I did that, yeah. I've done that before. I think that was probably back in 2020. Yes, I remember it was COVID times. So when you're sort of allowed out of the house, that sort of that short period of time, and it was in the winter, I used to run down towards nearer the river, and it's obviously all completely lit along some of those sides. And I would do my interval sessions up and down, just on the same stretches of road, but I actually would be able to monitor from the lampposts. So if you actually focus on trying to beat each time or each rep by trying to get to a different lamppost each week. They did it over a consistency of about 6 weeks, and it's actually quite enjoyable. You're literally just chasing lampposts during COVID on your own. It was quite a humbling experience, to be honest.
Okay, so anything else we want to talk about running in the dark? Because we've got about 10 minutes left, and we had a couple of questions, didn't we, from others?
I think it's the obvious one as well, which we probably skipped over for that reason, is trying to run with other people. If there's a group of you, obviously we've got the satellite groups all over the place. If you can get to one of them or two of them a week, brilliant. But there will be people local to you. that, you know, if you find, and you'll probably find actually what you do is just run past each other. But if somehow you make that connection and you can go out together, and whether it's morning or evening, and again, somewhere there's two of you there, or more, you're going to feel safer, aren't you?
It's actually quite strange. So it's a place I never thought it'd be, but on Strava, you get the local legends. So I run this same stretch of road a lot of the times, so I can get out of my area before I go out into the wilderness, wherever it is. And so I do the same bit of roads. And because I run 6 days a week, I'm normally always a local legend. But over the past year, I keep getting that taken off me. Then I get it back, then taken off me, get it back. And the more you start looking at who's taking it off you, and I start looking at his runs, and then I was looking at his times, and they're similar to mine. And now I'm thinking, do you know what, I should just contact him and say, well, we should go out for a run together. Obviously, you've got to feel comfortable to do that in the first place, but there's people in my area, same pace as me, running the same sort of distance and the same routes. Why not? It's a way of getting together with people, and as Toby said, it's a great way of feeling a little bit safer and a bit more secure.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many groups out there, like you were saying, obviously, Wilco, like there's so many groups or clubs or weekends where groups of people are getting together. I've just got a new housemate that's moved in with me, and she's come from Australia, and she is very much like me, loves to go on her runs, loves to sort of get up early in the morning and go and do some sort of sport. So it's all a whole new thing for her. And she was telling me about how many Facebook groups that she's in for this sort of stuff. I've told her obviously a lot about all of the clubs and stuff like that. She's like, yeah, well, on Friday, I'm heading off to do this Friday night lights of running with a load of random people who I don't know. And then we're all going for dinner after. And I was like, that is so bold. She's obviously sort of like in that traveling stage and real ready to just give it a shot and see what's out there. But I thought that's another thing. Like, we're all in multiple groups. We've obviously got like the Fordy Runs. You've got everything. That there's so much that you can find if you want to buddy up and find somebody that's in the same boat as you. It's just putting the feelers out and actively sort of looking and wanting to do it as well. Like, I know for a fact that I've got a lot more in the pipeline over the winter where I want to go out and maybe stay after work and stay in London where I can go and meet people, because a lot more of my friends are sort of based in London. And then just pushing yourselves to go and be a little bit more sociable also makes the winter go a little bit quicker, doesn't it? Because you can go out for dinner after. I mean, what's not to love?
I actually think that Glyn Stone's made a great point. I think Wilco as well. I know Toby definitely both participate in that. So in industrial estates are good places to do the lamppost parties, and they're normally well lit, and there is people always milling about them. They're quite good. I think I've seen you guys on a Hartford session, didn't you?
Yeah, we do sort of like if we're doing intervals or anything like that, because we're like you, we're based in the park generally. We've got sort of like a couple of 5K out in the streets sort of runs, and but there's a local industrial estate just down the road from where we regularly go, and we're always in there doing different exercises and that. And what's good about that is, from a social perspective, it's really nice because we're all together in a sort of like a small area. It's not like we're out running and people are going at certain paces and things like that. We're all together, and they just seem more sociable.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a great call. Absolute great call.
Okay, so Hayden, you've been we've had a couple of questions in. Do you want to do a couple now? You might be able to do some. I think next week. You might be able to do some next week.
We often, if you're not following us on Instagram, go over to Long Run Show and follow us on Instagram, and we're on Facebook as well. And we put a post out today asking if anyone's got any questions. We've had a few come in. We had a question from, which is a bit relatable to this weekend, Gym World, saying, I'm doing my third 10K race in London this year at Vitality on Sunday. What one do you think, in your opinion, is better? The Vitality 10K, the Winter 10K, or the Essex 10K? And I think most of us have done all three. Am I right?
No, I haven't done one.
You haven't done one? It's outrageous.
I'm literally so not on board with all of these events since after like my first marathon. I haven't really been able to go to these big events. I haven't had the chance. I just haven't. So I'm basically I'm a novice. I need you to feed it to me.
Well, let's go with Tano. Toby's done all three of them, probably 2 times at least each. Go on, Toby, what do you reckon at the 3?
I'm trying to recall which one's which. I mean,
yeah, you don't. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them sort of do tend to tread the same roads, don't they? I think atmosphere, though, wise, it does have to be Vitality. I think, especially if you've got someone in front that you can just follow the whole way round.
Oh, have you had that before, have you?
Until the end, and then just wave at them as you run past.
You've had your own pacer.
Yeah, I did. I had my own pacer. So, and also you do finish on the mile, don't you?
Yeah, well,
That's
that's
Buckingham Palace.
the point I was going to make about Vitality. You got Birdcage Walk and you finish right outside Buckingham Palace. So that makes it a bit special. But I think the route with Vitality and, if I'm right, the Winter 10K, they're quite similar-ish. Whereas that A6 goes back down onto the south, not the South Bank, goes along the river, does it, Embankment. And up over the bridge around Big Ben, which for me, that's my favourite one. But I think that's because it's always July and it's a bit of a summer atmosphere and there's beer en route that you can. It's just got bands. I just find that a little bit better than the other two. The other two go into the city. They're not as good. But for me, all three of them are absolutely great. So obviously, Jim Ross said they're doing their third one this year. So they'll be able to let us know. So please let us know how it goes.
I definitely think that. I enjoyed the Essex last time. I said, I thought that was the best one that I'd done in London. But I think, finishing in the Mall, there's something special about that. So I'm really looking forward to that on Sunday.
Absolutely. So I've got from Trying My Best 81. Does anyone wear a heart rate strap? Thinking of getting one? Is it worth it? Who wears one?
Well, actually, I will actually I pulled my, because we were originally going to be talking about sort of heart rate and power at the beginning of the week. So I dug out my Garmin heart rate monitor strap because it came with my watch when I got it sort of ages ago. And I thought I'm going to go out and give it a little go. And I remembered as soon as I put it on, the reason why I didn't wear it, because it just doesn't stay up. It just did, like the strap, you tighten it up as tight as you can. When you're running, it still loosens. I knew I didn't track my heart rate for a reason, and this was it. So,
right, Hayden?
For me.
Do you know what? It's quite relevant actually. So I've worn a heart rate strap for 6-7 years. All when I'm running, I always wear a heart rate strap, and only once ever, and it was a Great North Run last Sunday. And it was going along just completely out of the blue. Mine come undone and fell on the floor. It's like I can only imagine it like a woman's bra just suddenly falling off. And it just come off. It was just on the street. I was like, there's thousands of runners behind. I thought, no. So I had to bend down and pick up this heart rate strap. It just fell off. That's the first time it's ever happened, though, to be fair.
Made the news, that.
Did it?
Massive traffic jam at Great North Run. Caused by a little guy with size 13 feet.
Yeah, that all came back to me, and I was moaning because people had stopped in front of me. It's because there was sort of like a 5-mile trail of people who were stopping behind you as you were scrabbling along the floor in South Shields trying to pick your heart rate monitor up.
Now, obviously, what it is. But going back to Trying My Best, I wear a heart rate strap, and for me, I like to do a bit of heart rate training, so it's pretty vital. You don't get proper heart rate statistics from your watch for obvious reasons. I've always said it. So if you have a look at your watch, the actual sensor is underneath the face, which is on the top of your wrist, which I find really strange. So everyone knows once you go to a hospital, doctors or nurses, they always take your pulse from underneath. So I don't see how that could ever be accurate to get your heart rate. So I think if you want to run to heart rate or you want to start looking at heart rate stats, you have to wear a heart rate strap. Otherwise, you're not going to get accurate figures. But some people have got no interest in running to heart rate anyway. So
I think the thing that puts me off about the heart rate aspect is not that I'm quite statty. I like this sort of like the stats thing, but it's making it work by doing, how I get the base figure so everything works out. Almost like you've got to go. Like people talk about Cooper tests and things like that, and I'm just like,
I think it's the same.
I'm too old to be terrorising around for 2.5 kilometers, just so I can get a bit of kit there. I know when I'm running easy, and I know when I'm putting it in, and I think I can cope with that, and I'm quite happy with ticking along. It's
that thing, isn't it? It depends what you how far you want to delve into it. If you really want to get into those figures and go, right, this is definitely my easy, and this is like, then insane. Even with a heart rate monitor, you've really got to go out there and do those sessions and do them regularly.
Have you found, Hayden, 6 or 7 years, so you've always run with one, or did you have sort of like an epiphany moment to say, right, I'm going to get one? And it
no, from the moment I started taking running a little bit more seriously, I suppose. Yeah, I've always had one. It just, I don't know. As you said, it's a bit of kit I've always had. It doesn't just it pulls up so many different stats about your left-right balance. Your cadence is going to be a lot more accurate from that. As Toby said, it depends on how much you want to start looking into things. If you're just going out there to have a bit of a fun run and you want to do a 10K Vitality this Sunday, and even if you just want to do a park run and really go for it, doesn't make a difference what your heart rate is.
But then I suppose
long-term longevity. It's good to. It's the same as monitoring your runs. A lot of people will come back and write down their runs, write down how it felt, how it went. A lot of people be like, I can't bother with all that. It's just not for me. So it's an individual thing, and it's
it could be a bit of a chicken and egg thing that, you know, it was part of you becoming more serious. You know, that it didn't necessarily develop you as a runner because you were doing everything else around that goes with taking your running more seriously. It was just a component of that. So it's difficult to say whether it will, you know, whether it was the reason why you've gone on and you ran a Boston qualifier at Edinburgh and all that.
I'm not going to put that. No, that's not down to the heart rate strap. No, but it's just a bit of kit. You could say the same about trainers, couldn't you? Really? Should I just stuck to my old Nikes that I had, the Pegasus 35? Should I just stuck to them? You don't. You just try and upgrade kit and everything else. You watch.
You never know. You never know. You might well have done that if you had still got them.
Who knows? Could have just stuck to my Casio watch, couldn't I?
Oh, those were the days, mate. You knew where you were.
My Alpha Flies. As soon as I upgraded to those bad boys, my life changed.
We'll leave the other couple of questions. We'll roll them over to next week because we have done over an hour.
Wow. It's gone so quick.
I thought with Chris not here, you know, well, we might not have much to say. We might be, you know, it might be a bit of a struggle, but here we are. It's brilliant.
No, we've got to give a big shout out. I know we did it at the front end, but we've got to give a big shout out to him and Ben and that, obviously out there in Berlin, and wish them all the best for Sunday, because even though it wasn't my favourite marathon out of all of them, it is a special marathon and it's a world major. Mr. Kipchoge's out there going for a world record again, so it could be a really special event. I'm
so excited. Well, everyone's going to be at Vitality 10K this weekend. I will be at the end to give you your beautiful T-shirts in whatever size you wish.
I'll be at the end as well.
Just come to me and I'll be able to provide the goods.
Okay, really, really quickly. One thing I know, saw at the very top of the show, we have Bam Bam online saying, "Evening, everybody," and I just want to congratulate him on his massive PB that he done on the Ipswich half last week. He's an absolute legend. Well done, Bam Bam.
Well done. Good job.
What a great run. So, that's your lot, I'm afraid. So, thanks ever so much, everybody, for joining us. Remember, if you can't be with us at 7 o'clock on a Friday night on Facebook or YouTube, you can download us on your podcast provider of choice. Take us with you on your long run and, enjoy it or enjoy it all again. See, get all the highlights, get it all back, enjoy it all again. You're more than welcome to. So thank you very much for your company. Thank you to Skechers, our sponsors. Head over to skechers.co.uk, check out all their deals and their gear. And don't forget that you can get a 10% discount at startfitness.co.uk using the Fordy Runs login. Thank you very much. We will be back next week. Chris and Ben will be back next week, and they'll be full of their tales of their trip to Germany. So that will be something not to be missed. We will be back in a few weeks. So we're always here. Someone will be here to talk to you on Saturday. So thank you very much for your company. Have a great weekend. We'll see you at Vitality if you're coming down. Enjoy your running. Stay safe, particularly now it's dark. And we'll see you next week.